Earthling, you remember the images from 1929? Long soup lines, empty eyes, men in suits staring at the ground like their future fell faster than the stock market. You call it history. You frame it in black and white. You think it's finished. From my perspective, it's not finished. It's rehearsing. Back then, humans believed the system was strong because prices kept going up. Confidence became faith. Faith became blindness. And when reality arrived, it did not knock. It collapsed the door. Now observe your present. No soup lines yet, no visible panic, just glowing screens, rising charts, and the comforting illusion that this time is different. Fascinating logic. In 1929, the danger was visible after it was too late. In 2026, the danger is invisible because it feels normal. Debt feels normal. Speculation feels smart. Fragility hides behind complexity. You fear what already happened. I study what is repeating. This is not a story about the past. It is a warning about patterns. Humans always think there is still time. That was true in 1928, and it felt true in 2025. Now stay with me, because what you're about to see is not chaos remembered, it is chaos loading. Earthling, let us begin the real story. In 1929, many humans believed they were rich, not because they had money, but because they had access to it. Credit was easy. Margin loans were everywhere. You could borrow your way into the illusion of prosperity. Sound familiar? Of course it does. From orbit, I observed the same creature wearing a different costume. Today, your wealth is not measured by what you own. It is measured by how much you can delay pain. Credit cards. Buy now, pay later. Monthly payments sliced so thin they feel harmless. A television here, a vacation there. Groceries spread across 4 installments. You call it flexibility. I call it time-shifted poverty. Humans celebrate consumption while quietly losing purchasing power. Wages struggle to keep up. Prices rise. Yet spending continues, not because life is affordable, but because debt makes it feel affordable. This is what I classify as the false rich phase. In 1929, people borrowed to buy stocks they did not understand. In your era, people borrow to maintain a lifestyle they can no longer afford. Different objects, same behavior. And above you all floats a much larger organism, the state itself. The United States, the core engine of your global system, now carries a national debt so large it no longer behaves like a number. It behaves like gravity. Compared to the size of its economy, this debt is historically extreme. But do not be fooled. Your leaders call it stimulus. I call it diluted theft. You printed 40% of all US dollars in existence in just 2 years. In 1929, money vanished. In 2026, money will be worthless. When governments borrow faster than growth, they don't solve problems, they postpone them. Again, a very human strategy. Here is the uncomfortable parallel. In the late 1920s, debt amplified optimism. When confidence cracked, debt amplified collapse. Debt does not cause the fall. Debt accelerates it. And this is where humans make a logical error I find endlessly entertaining. You believe complexity equals safety. You believe that because debt is spread across millions of cards, apps, institutions, and balance sheets, the risk is diluted. It is not diluted, it is synchronized. A small shock, job losses, tighter credit, rising defaults, does not need to destroy the system. It only needs to remind everyone at the same time that the money was never really there. In 1929, panic spread through streets and newspapers. In your world, it spreads through notifications. And once confidence breaks, Earthling, debt stops being invisible. It becomes very loud. Observe carefully, because the bubble is not in stocks alone. It is in households pretending they are fine, and in a nation pretending the bill will never arrive. Earthling, now observe a different illusion, one that looks sophisticated, efficient, even intelligent. In 1929, the market was crowded with thousands of small dreams. In your time, it is carried by 7 giants. You call them innovation. You call them progress. I call them a single point of failure disguised as diversity. By 2024 and 2025, a massive portion of market gains, indexes, and investor confidence rests on a tiny group of technology companies. They dominate headlines, capital flows, and belief. Humans say the market is strong. What they really mean is these 7 companies are strong. This is not the same thing. From my distance, this pattern is painfully familiar. In the late 1920s, faith concentrated around a belief that stocks only moved upward. Today, faith concentrates around a belief that these companies are untouchable. Invincible margins, infinite growth, permanent relevance. You have built retirement funds, pensions, and long-term savings on this assumption. Let me translate that into alien logic. You tied your future survival to the uninterrupted perfection of a few corporate organisms. Fascinating risk management. Now, imagine a small deviation from the script. Not a collapse of all 7, just one. A regulatory shock, a technological disruption, a catastrophic earnings miss, a loss of trust. One company stumbles, indexes react, funds rebalance, algorithms sell. Pension portfolios feel it before humans even understand why. This is the domino humans prefer not to visualize. You believe diversification protects you, but when diversification exists only on paper, correlation replaces safety. In 1929, when prices fell, margin calls forced selling. Selling caused more falling. Falling caused panic. Today, the mechanisms are faster, cleaner, automated, but the emotional core is identical. Fear is still fear, and fear still spreads faster than logic. You assume that because these companies are profitable, global, and technologically advanced, they are immune to historical forces. You assume the rules have changed. Humans always assume that, right before they learn, they were wrong. The danger is not that these companies exist. The danger is that the market behaves as if nothing else matters. When valuation, confidence, and retirement security lean on so few pillars, stability becomes theatrical. It looks solid until one pillar moves. In 1929, the crash revealed that paper wealth was thinner than expected. In your era, the revelation would be quieter. Balance sheets adjusting, accounts shrinking, futures recalculated. But the emotional result would be the same: confusion, anger, and the terrifying question humans hate asking: how did this happen if everything looked fine? Earthling, the system does not break where you are looking. It breaks where you stopped looking, because comfort told you to. And when comfort becomes consensus, history starts sharpening its teeth again. Earthling, there is a moment before every collapse when words and actions split apart. Listen to what your leaders say, then watch what they do. In public, many CEOs sound calm, confident, optimistic about the future. Long-term growth, strong fundamentals, temporary uncertainty. Beautiful sounds. Humans trust sounds, but money does not listen to speeches. Behind the curtain, a different behavior appears. Executives quietly selling their own shares. Not loudly, not dramatically, just consistently. I find this behavior extremely honest. When humans truly believe in the future, they hold. When they fear it, they reduce exposure while telling others to stay calm. This pattern is not new. Let me show you an ancient example from your own archives. In the late 1920s, Roger Babson looked at the market and felt something was wrong. Too much leverage, too much optimism, too little caution. He exited early, and humans laughed at him. Another human, Philip Fisher, stayed invested, trusting the long-term strength of businesses and markets. He believed volatility was noise. When the crash came, Babson preserved capital. Fisher endured pain, and only survived because time, not certainty, rescued him. Two humans, same information, different instincts. This is the uncomfortable truth, Earthling. Being early feels stupid until it feels intelligent. Today, you mock caution again. You label it pessimism, fear, overreaction. Yet the ones closest to the machinery are quietly stepping back, not predicting disaster, just preparing for the possibility. Humans call this nothing to worry about. I call it pattern recognition. History does not announce itself. It whispers and watches who listens. While they tell you on television to buy the dip, they are silently selling the top. They are not just leaving the room, Earthling. They are locking the door from the outside, with you inside. Earthling, let us talk about something humans prefer not to imagine. What happens when trust leaves the banking system quietly? In 2023, you received a warning, not a collapse, a signal. Regional banks failed not because of mystery, but because of something very simple. Too many assets that could not be turned into cash fast enough. Liquidity vanished, confidence followed. From my perspective, this was not a crisis. It was a stress test, and many systems passed, barely. Humans were told the problem was contained, a comforting word. It means we stopped the bleeding, not the disease. Banks survive on trust, not money. When depositors doubt, numbers stop mattering. Open your banking app right now. Look at the number. That money does not exist. It was lent to a skyscraper that is now empty. If you and your neighbors ask for it back today, the bank is bankrupt by noon. Now, connect this to another structure humans built during the era of cheap money. Commercial real estate, office buildings, business districts, towers designed for a world where everyone showed up every morning. That world has changed. Vacancy rates rose, refinancing became expensive, and a large volume of commercial real estate debt is approaching maturity under much higher interest rates. This is where fragility becomes dangerous. Banks hold these loans. Pension funds hold these banks. Cities depend on the taxes from these buildings. One weakness touches another. In 1929, banks failed after markets collapsed. In your era, markets may react to banking stress instead of causing it. Different sequence, same vulnerability. Earthling, you are told liquidity exists because numbers exist on screens. But liquidity is not numbers. Liquidity is the ability to sell without panic. When everyone needs cash at the same time, liquidity reveals itself as an illusion. This is not a prediction. It is a structural observation. A system optimized for efficiency breaks easily under pressure, and pressure is returning, slowly, quietly, invisibly. You will not hear alarms at first. You will hear reassurances. And historically, those come right before trust becomes very expensive again. Earthling. Now we arrive at the part humans misunderstand the most: time. When interest rates rise, humans expect immediate pain. When pain does not arrive, they celebrate. They assume the danger has passed. This is a mistake. Monetary policy does not act like fire. It acts like gravity. The decisions made by the Federal Reserve in 2023 and 2024 did not disappear because markets calmed down. They entered the system slowly, through refinancing cycles, expiring debt, delayed layoffs, and shrinking credit. This is what humans call the lag effect. Businesses do not fail the day rates rise. They fail when loans must be renewed at prices they can no longer afford. Households do not panic when rates change. They panic when payments reset. Governments do not feel pressure instantly. They feel it when interest consumes budgets. From my observation deck, this delay is not comforting. It is dangerous, because humans interpret silence as safety. In 1929, tightening financial conditions preceded collapse by months. Confidence survived until it didn't. Today, the same mathematics applies. Higher rates reduce borrowing. Reduced borrowing slows growth. Slower growth exposes leverage. This is not ideology, it's arithmetic. Earthling, you are not facing a sudden event. You are facing a scheduled one. If conditions do not correct, pressure accumulates. If pressure accumulates, something adjusts. Markets can deny narratives. They cannot deny math. Whether the correction arrives gently or violently is uncertain. That a correction arrives is not. And if you want to understand how humans behaved the last time confidence collapsed on this scale, there is already a transmission on this channel about the Great Depression. Study it, because history does not repeat itself out of nostalgia. It repeats itself because humans refuse to learn, and time always collects its debt. The mathematics are cold, terrible, and inevitable. The clock is ticking, Earthling, and this time there will be no Noah's Ark for your wallet. Transmission complete. End of report 2026.